Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of my F2 2019 career mode. That is how to drift a Formula 2 car, which we'll see that moment later in the race today. But anyway, let's get into the race weekend with a little bit of practice.
Here we are at the circuit to Barcelona, Catalunya, where Formula 2 meets again, this time for the Spanish race. The teams will be shortly heading out onto this classic and beloved track for what we are expecting to be a very busy free practice session.
So the situation in the championship right now, I think we're in second place. I'm not entirely sure. So we'll just do the usual one lap in practice, see where the pace is at, and use this session to set up the difficulty for the race weekend. But yeah, we'll just see where the pace is at, and we'll anyway come around to finish our lap, and
Okay, you're in the top 10.
we'll go fastest.
As all cars are now over the line, your top three again are Sete Camera, Giotto and Jack Aitken. Practice times are on the board then, but no points are on offer just yet. We'll be back with more F2 action soon.
Yeah, I've discovered that Formula 2 practice, as far as the AI are concerned, literally means nothing. The order is very, very random sometimes. But anyway, that's not to take away from any of the drivers. But looking at where we are, P16, so it's good enough. So let's get into the race, qualifying session. Learn your weekend formats.
Here we are at the circuit to Barcelona, Catalunya, where today's qualifying session is about to start. And we'll be ready to join the action down at trackside any moment now.
Okay. So, as my practice pace was nothing special, I decided to have a look at the lap my teammate was doing in qualifying, and to see where I might be able to gain some time relative to the field. They drive very smoothly compared to my driving, so that would be part of it. But that's part of using a controller in a racing game. But I noticed through this corner coming up, turn 4, they turn at the corner much earlier and go way out to the left on the exit, much more than I do. So that is potentially where I'm losing time, but that's not really how it plays out, if as we'll find out later in the race. And I always find this section of track very, very tricky, those two corners there. And this right-hander, very easy to miss the apex there and run wide into the grass on the left, and then down into the sharp left-hander at the start of the final sector. It can also be very tricky on the exit. The traction there is quite difficult, and again this left-right section is also the rear end is very hard to control through those corners, as Hubert is on the rev limiter through there. But anyway, through these last few corners, again traction is very tricky, and they just control it very nicely. And then onto the straight towards the finish line is quite straightforward. And he is sitting first at the moment, not that everyone has set their times yet. So now we go on to my lap, and let's see if we can somewhat replicate what Hubert was just doing. So into the first corner, a little bit deep, had to turn at the corner to a bit early just to make sure that we got there, but ran a little bit wide here, but just about kept it on the track, and that shouldn't have cost us too much time. Into turn 4 now, and you see the line I take, I stick right to the inside there, and then maybe only go out halfway to the right, but it makes this corner turning into this turn 5, I think that is, a little bit less steep, so I just prefer that line. And in the race, that tends to work. But anyway, you can see there a little bit of a corner cut, but nothing too major through this right-hander. Managed to get there, through there quite neatly that time. And now into the very tricky final sector. I really do not enjoy this final sector. And you can hear just a little bit of wheel spin there. and a big slide there. Had to catch the car. That would have cost some time. And the thing is, in Formula 2, you really don't get a chance to set many laps because you've only got the one set of the softer tyres, so you can probably only set 2 to maybe 3 good laps at the very most if you are very lucky. So anyway, we come around to finish the lap, a little bit in the gravel on the left-hand side there, but we cross the line for P16. Whoopee.
As we wind down from the excitement of qualifying, here's a look at your top 3. Tete Camara, De Vries and Mick Schumacher. The grid is set then, so that just leaves the race itself. Join us tomorrow where we'll be live with all the action, and until then, goodbye.
So, yeah, that's it. P16. We're going to have a very tough weekend from here. If we can move forward enough in the sprint race, in the feature race, we may be able to salvage something in the sprint race if we get the reverse grid pole. But that's about all we've got to fight for in this weekend. At this point, the pace just doesn't seem to be there. So anyway, we'll get into the race and see how it goes.
Welcome to the circuit to Barcelona, Catalunya. This circuit has seen some exciting racing over the last quarter century. The question is, which of the young drivers below will be the next to write a chapter of that illustrious history? It's 2.89 miles around the circuit to Barcelona, Catalunya, 7 lefts and 9 rights that make up a total of 16 corners. Probably one of the best opportunities for overtaking is down the main straight and into the first turn. That's one of the 2 DRS zones the drivers will be able to use this weekend. Alongside me today, I'm delighted to welcome back to the commentary box the 2012 GP2 champion, Davide Valsecchi. There looks to be a challenging race ahead of the drivers today, Davide. With that in mind, what are you looking out for today?
Well, Alex, I want to see how the drivers at the back of the grid are going to roll down. They'll need to make an impact in the early stages, and they're probably hoping for a bit of luck at the start. We may see some bold maneuvers out there today.
With that then, let's run through the grid order. Sergio Sette Camara lines up on pole position, and P2 goes to Nick De Vries, a strong showing from the Dutch driver. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Schumacher, Delatrax, Luca Ghiotto, and Latifi, Aitkit, Matsushita, Joe, Ralph Boschart, Boccalacci, Hubert, Sean Galea, and Mazepin, King, Calderon, Raghunathan, and Juan Manuel Correa, Alesi, and Callum Ilott starts from the back of the grid. And with preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track.
Okay, be wary of the cars ahead braking suddenly into one. We could ruin our race if we hit them. Good luck.
Alright, thanks Jeff. We'll try to avoid any incidents into the first corner, but we need to be aggressive. So we go to 5 red lights. And away we go for the sprint race here in the feature race here in Spain. I always say the wrong one. And immediately it's a bad start. We get overtaken by Mahevia Gunnarsson on the left hand side and Correa on the right. So we've immediately dropped 2 spots, but Gunnarsson moves across, opens the window on the outside. We try to dive down the outside. We have to take avoiding action to avoid someone there. And we have immediately just lost any advantage that we may have gained. We're on the outside here, and the car is not responding to returning all the way off the racing line there, and we get overtaken once again by Raghunathan. So we're back where we started, and Raghunathan has actually pushed us off the road there, and we're going to spin around here. I can't save the car, and that is an absolute disaster at the start of this race. We're trying to be aggressive, trying to make up some spots, or at least trying to hold position on the outside there, and Raghunathan did not leave any space on the outside of that corner, and
Okay, not a great start. Let's get back on track.
no, not a great start. That's pointing out the obvious there, Jeff. Yeah, Raghunathan did not leave any space on the outside there, and yeah, it's, I don't know, maybe I should have just backed off, tried to cross back to the right hand side, but yeah, that is an absolute disaster at the start of this race, not the start of the race I needed. and I've just made this job of getting back through the field that much harder for myself. But looking ahead now, this is Luca Giotto, and he is out of the race. That is a puff of smoke out the back of his engine, and he is out of the race with a mechanical failure. So that's unfortunate for him. But meanwhile, we have finally caught up to Callum Ilott up ahead, and we've got a bit of a run, but we're a long way behind. But we're going to go for a massive dive into the first corner, and we'll actually be clear of him by the time we get to the apex. And that is actually a really nice move.
Okay, good work. Great pass.
On Callum Ilott there. But we move on now, and we've got a Lacey ahead of us. We go down the inside into the third sector, and we run a little bit wide at the apex, block him off, and that is P18. So we obviously have the pace to run, at least with these cars at the back, so we should be able to move forward through all of these cars. Next up is Correa, and we're going to try to go to the outside of turn 5. He leaves just enough space there, but I wasn't quite feeling brave enough to try and move on the outside, so we tried to cross back underneath to the inside, but we just didn't quite get the run there, so we just have to follow through, and I'm just going to have to try and stick as close as possible through turn 9 to try to make a move into turn 10. I'm moving around, seeing if I could get him to defend into that corner to compromise this line, but he wasn't sold by it. But we've got a little bit of a run anyway, so we go down the inside into turn 10, and hopefully that is that move made on one Manuel Correa. So we just get through there, and
You're into P16.
Into P16, yes. Now we're right behind Rugunov, and we go down the outside into turn 10, and he actually fights that position quite well, and we can't quite get the move done there. So Raghunathan is fighting very hard, and we go for a massive slide through. I'm not even sure what turn number that is, but here is the replay as we were just trying to get in line behind him. There's the big slide, and we managed to save that from another spin. But that is two big moments while trying to overtake Raghunathan in this race. But the next time,
Don't forget, box this lap.
we're boxing this lap anyway, but we do get through on Raghunathan that time with no issues. We're well clear by the time we got to the braking zone. So we got through and up into P15 now. So we're back pretty much where we started. We almost hit the wall coming to pits. So let's slow down into pit lane and get some new tyres on, push on for the rest of the race. And it's a bit of a reset now. We're back where we started, minus the position we gained from Giotto and his DNF. It's a 6.4 second pit stop, so that's nothing too fancy by the team there. But we didn't lose any places, and that's what counts. So we'll
look after these tyres now. We want to finish the race on this compound.
we will try to make the most of this undercut. Try to just put in the best lap we possibly can, and hopefully we might be able to jump a few cars if we can get this lap in cleanly. So as we move on, going past the pit lane, we'll see how many positions we'll gain. We've passed Correa, but we're ahead of him anyway. And on the right hand side there, that was Raghunathan. So thankfully we won't have to pass him again. But that is it. We haven't gained any positions, and there is actually quite a gap to the cars in front. So we just need to push on and see what we can achieve in this race. But right now we are solidly in P15.
Caution.
But there's a caution, and something's happened up ahead. There's
Someone's come up ahead of you. There's a yellow flag ahead.
yellow flags, and someone is out of the race, and it is Nikita Mazepin. So massive disappointment for the Russian driver. Another engine failure in this race, and he pulls off the road in a very, well, only a couple of corners before he would have got to where Giotto stopped. But anyway, we continue on. We pass Nikita Mazepin on the right hand side there, and we are up into P14 now. So really we're 4 positions away from points. The next car up ahead is Ralph Boschung, so we've got a run on him here. So we're going to try to
That was the fastest lap of the race. Keep this up.
maybe make a move into the first corner. We've got a really good run actually. We go to the outside, braking hard on the outside, squeezing to the apex, just give him the tight line, and we get through for position number 13. At this point now, it's Jordan King ahead of us once again. So let's see if we can catch him. So we move on, and we have caught up to a battle up ahead of us. But the car ahead now is Dorian Boccolacci, and Jordan King has just overtaken him there. So Boccolacci is the new target. Let's see if we can get a good run. Here is a bit of a replay of Boccolacci and King battling away up ahead. And now we've caught up to Boccolacci. We're going to try to go around the outside, but I remembered what Raghunathan did there, so I switched back to the inside this time. And we go for a move around the outside, a little bit on the grass there. And because of that, I couldn't turn the car away. I wanted to have a massive slide there, and that's cost a bunch of time. And now it is Boschung who's putting the pressure on me, but we managed to cover him off through there. And now we can focus back on Boccolacci. So we move on to the main straight. He gets a really bad exit. We've got a nice one. Get the DRS open, straight past Boccolacci there.
Brilliant. Nice move.
Up into P12. Then we catch up finally once again to Jordan King, and we can hopefully make a move into turn 10. If not, we might actually be able to do it into turn 9. We've got the inside line in through turn 9, and we get the move done there. So that's a very unorthodox place to make a move, but we've done it ahead of Jordan King as we get a little bit on the grass, not paying attention to where I'm going, too busy looking behind at Jordan King. But we've gotten through up into P11. The next car up ahead is Sean Galale, who's having a pretty good race so far. So let's see what we can do. Galale is actually battling away up ahead with Matsushita, and we're going to try to take the advantage if we can, but Matsushita actually does a nice job to get back on the racing line without losing too much momentum there. But we should be able to find an opportunity soon, as we run a little bit wide, but we've got an alright exit. We're fairly close to Matsushita, so we go for the move down the inside into turn 10, run a little bit deep, but Matsushita leaves the space there. So we move on down the inside of Galale again, very late move, very deep into that corner. But this is the only way that I can actually make these moves stick, and we have another slide through turn 11. I suppose that must be. And we move on now, and this is actually the end of the race. So your race winner is Sergio Sette Camera. He's been setting a lot of faster slaps. Whenever I try to take them, he would take them straight back. But you can see on this final lap, we've got a purple first sector and a green second sector, and that's all we've got left to play for in this race now, is the fastest lap. So as we go around the final corner, we get a little bit in the grass. Have we got the fastest lap? No, we don't. I don't think so.
Alright, race over. Take care of the car on the way in.
So P9, no fastest lap this time. We ruined that on the last corner, but oh well.
A great win then for the Dams team today. And Davide Valsecchi, give me your thoughts. How did they accomplish this result?
I think this race was won thanks to the tire management. You have to remember, it's not just about going as fast as you can. It's about consistency. It's about maintaining your speed over an entire race distance. So being able to keep the lap time competitive while still respecting the tires, that's where they want today.
And I can see our drivers making their way out now. It's been a sublime team performance, and it's the culmination of a lot of hard work. Dams are your winners today.
So there you go, Sergio Sette Camera gets the race win from Nicholas Latifi and Louis Delatraz up on the podium there. Nice race by the three of them. Didn't really see much of the battle for the top positions. I was all the way at the back outside the top 10 for most of it.
And now let's take a look at the driver's standings. It's a good result for Nicholas Latifi, who moves further ahead at the top of the table. And so, driver of the day then, Davide Valsecchi, Who do you think you'd go for?
I go for Tatiana Calderon.
Hey.
She was so fast today. She really impressed me.
On to the teams then. Dams move further ahead at the top of the standings. Meanwhile, good work from Campos this weekend, who pushed themselves further up the order. Goodbye for now then, but we really are just getting started. Make sure you join us again for Lights Out tomorrow.
Alright, thanks for that little summary there. So, looking down the rest of the field from the podium, Nick de Vries, Jack Aitken, Hubert ended up in P6 at the end of that race, so it was a really good race by him. Guan Yu Zhou in 7th and Mick Schumacher 8th will get the reverse grid pole. If we get one more position in that race, that could have been us. But when you start from the back and have a spin on the first lap, you can't expect too much, I suppose. And obviously myself and Sean Galale round out the points. And yeah, Jordan King outside the points, which was a massive surprise. Massive surprise to see that. And obviously Nikita Mazepin and Luca Giotto not finishing the race at all. Let's get into the sprint race. Hey, I set the right one. Nice.
We've reversed the top 8 from yesterday's race to set the grid for the sprint race here today, and the drivers are almost ready on the grid down below. In the commentary box for the big race today, I'm Alex Jakes, and joining me once again, it's Davide Valsecchi. Davide, as well as being the 2012 GP2 champion, you also have experience as a test driver in F1. What would you say are the biggest differences for people fresh to the world of F2?
Well, Alex, I think it's an exciting time in Formula 2 right now. For spectators, a lot of excitement comes from all the drivers being in the same car. That puts the emphasis on driver skills, meaning lots of overtakes, which means exciting race for us.
You should have some space going into the first corner, so try to keep it tidy.
Alright, we will keep it tidy into the first corner. P9 this time on the grid, so not as bad as last time. We get underway very, very quickly for the sprint race here in Spain. I didn't even have time to say 5 red lights, but they're out and we are moving. And we've actually had a decent start. We're still holding 10th at the moment with Galeo down the inside. We go for a massive dive down the outside of everyone. Once again, this time we managed to more or less keep it on the road. We're battling side by side with our championship rival Nicholas Latifi, and he just gets through on that occasion on the inside. But this is the battle we need. We need to beat Latifi, we need to beat Sede Camera. We go down the inside of Latifi into turn 4, and we get that move done nice and early in this race, and now we can just move on and try and put some cars in between us. And we go for a move now on De Vries, a massive dive bomb there. That was from way too far back, but somehow we managed to stop the car and make the corner. And I think there was a bit of contact, but that would have, we'll just say that was De Vries' fault for turning in, and leave it at that. The next car ahead of us now is Jack Aitken. We're sitting right behind him trying to get a good exit, and we do just that. He squeezes us almost off the road there, but we didn't make contact, we got through. So now we're trying to hold it around the outside, and we did that, but we both got an equally good exit, and we bang wheels, and he almost sends us off the road, but we managed to save it. Aitken maintains position. We get a collision warning there, but that was actually a lot of, yeah, that was a good battle with Aitken, but we actually held up De Vries there to the point where Sede Camera might have a run at him, but and he does that actually as we go on to the next screen, because he Sede Camera with the fastest lap behind me. But anyway, we go down the inside of Aitken into the first corner, another big dive bomb, and we get that move done. And the turn 1 might be the overtaking place in this race, we'll see.
That was the fastest lap of the race so far.
Fastest lap as we move on now to the start of lap 6, and we go down the inside of Louis Delatraz into the first corner. And what did I say, this is going to be our overtaking spot in this race, it seems, as the next car up ahead now is our teammate Antoine Hubert. And we look up ahead, and this is the battle for the lead between Schumacher and Guan Yu Zhou, and Hubert is just watching on. And now we've caught up to the train. We go for a move down the inside of Hubert, and we actually have to cut that corner a little bit, so I backed out of the next one to give the position back, but we actually banged wheels with our teammate there, but no damage, so we can both move on. But that was a little bit of a scary moment. But we move on now to the main straight. We go down the outside of Hubert into the first corner, squeeze into the apex a little bit, not too much. He is our teammate, we don't want to cause too many troubles. But anyway, we get that move done, and Guan Yu Zhou has eventually gotten ahead of Mick Schumacher there. And it is now our turn to try to overtake Schumacher. We go to the inside towards turn 7, and we just get down the inside, very awkward corner to try to overtake, but we do that and get ahead of Schumacher. The next car up ahead is now Zhou, so let's set off after him. Here's the replay of passing Schumacher there, and I was a little bit deep into that corner, but got the move done nonetheless. So we move on now, and this is actually an onboard with Hubert, and he's putting the pressure on Schumacher now, who had a bit of a lock up there. But as all that's going on, we go down the outside of Guan Yu Zhou into turn 4. It doesn't work. We switch to the outside of turn 5, and he leaves us some space, but the way he was coming across, I didn't really trust that he was going to, so I didn't end up going for the move around the outside. It probably wouldn't have worked out for us anyway, so we're just going to have to sit behind, see what we can do, see if we can get a good run through turn 9. We're right behind him as we're heading towards turn 9. It does make it very tricky to spot your braking point, your apex, and as such we lost a bit of time there, but we've actually got an okay run. We go for a move down the inside, but we just weren't close enough, so that was more of a look than a move in the end. But here is Antoine Hubert, the battle for third. He's overtaking Schumacher on the straight, and with the DRS there was no competition there. Antoine Hubert up into third position in this race, makes the first corner nicely, but meanwhile we are still right on the back of Guan Yu Zhou, and this time we try to make a move around the outside, and we get there this time. We try to hold it around the outside, but he manages to pull through there very nicely back onto the racing line, and there was nothing we could do. But we're right behind him through turns 7 and 8 once again, and we might be able to get a better run through turn 9 this time. We missed the apex just slightly, but we should get a decent exit this time, but he does too. But we go for a move down the inside anyway. We're a little bit far back, but we go for the move, and we get it done, I think, on the exit there, up into P1 in this race. Now we just have to hold on and see what Guan Yu Zhou has for us while we're in the lead. But no, we've run wide here, and that might give Zhou an opportunity around the outside, and he's there, and he barges through. I was a little bit, I wasn't sure where he was and what he was going to do, so I left some space, and he took every millimeter of it. But I don't think we made contact, so barge might not be the right word there. But anyway, as I'm waffling on about all that, we're getting a run down the inside into the first corner.
Okay, good work. Great pass.
The pass isn't over yet, Jeff. And as I say that, we completely miss out the first two corners, and Zhou is back through. But we move on now to turn 9, and we are trying to get a good exit. He's a long way ahead at this point, so we're not going to be able to make a move. But if you look in the top left, there is green flags, and there is a car out of the race. It is Louis Delatraz, and that's a shame. He was running quite well in this race. But anyway, we can't worry about that. We've got Guan Yu Zhou in front of us. We're trying to re-overtake him on the outside into the first corner. We go into the first corner, and we have a safety car.
Okay, the safety car is out. The safety car is out. We need to form up at a reduced pace. Keep a close eye on that delta time. Make sure to keep it positive. Okay, slow down, slow down. Your delta is negative, which means you are too fast. Reduce your pace.
Alright, shut up, Jeff. Right, so have a look at the replay here in the bottom left. We just get out of the yellow flags as we're overtaking Guan Yu Zhou round the outside. The timing of this is incredible. We just get ahead, and there's the safety car.
The safety car is out.
So that was a perfectly timed overtake. There was nothing intentional about that. But yeah, we just get outside of the yellow flag zone, made the overtake, and then the safety car was called. That could not have come at a better time. That potentially could have been a lot worse for us there. But the reason for the safety car, as I said, Sergio set a camera out of the race with a mechanical failure, I didn't get that on the replays, but anyway, we move on, and that is
Approaching the safety car. You're leading, so don't pass it. Stay behind the safety car.
yeah, that is huge for this championship. Seti Camera obviously just took second in the last race, and a DNF for this one. Well, we are now in the lead behind the safety car, no less, and yeah, that is huge for the championship. So we have no excuses. We should reclaim second place. What on earth is Siri telling me as I'm looking at the photo thing? Siri thought I said, "Hey Siri" for the championship, but
Okay,
anyway.
the safety car is coming in this lap. We'll be pacing the field in sector 3. Make sure to respect the delta until the safety car is in the pit lane.
Alright, so now the safety car's coming in. We've got to get this restart right. I haven't actually really done a restart from the lead before. I probably have at some point in F1 2018, but not for a long time. So I'm not really sure exactly what to do. I'm just sort of running at a slow speed. But we're actually still fairly close to the safety car, so maybe I wasn't going slow enough. And as I look back, Joe, I don't know how to pronounce his name. Pretty sure it's Joe, is actually right behind me now after I slowed down a bit, but he was a long way back. So anyway, we put the power down out of the final corner, and the restart is not too bad. But that was a little bit messy. I wasn't exactly sure what I was meant to be doing there. But anyway, Joe's actually got a good run, but he doesn't go for the move into the first corner. I actually went a little bit deep, but we should be able to hold on, and we do just that.
Tyre update for you. Everything's looking nice and tidy on our end. Let us know if you start to feel any issues.
But do we bang wheels with Randy Joe as he goes on the inside there, and that was a bad turn 3 for me. Running wide in turn 4 as well, we make a little bit more contact there potentially, but we go for a move it to the inside of turn 5, and hopefully we actually run a little bit wide there. I was going to say we should be able to maintain it. Joe's back on the inside, we're off the track, but we get ahead, but we've got an illegal overtake.
Illegal maneuver, cede that position or we'll receive a penalty.
And that is ridiculous. There's no way we gained an advantage by being that far off the road. I was just trying to avoid more contact, and look at the timing of that. Just for that brief moment we're off the road is when we got the nose ahead. But anyway, that's the way it is. We've given the position back, if very briefly there, and we get through on the inside of turn 9, and we get that move done on Guan Yu Zhou finally there. But that was a bit of a dodgy move there. But this is Schumacher and Hubert banging wheels through the last sector, and Schumacher gets that move, so that puts Schumacher back up onto the podium after he lost that position before, so he's making the most of the restart as we run wide out of turn 5. We make a mistake all on our own, but we should be able to hold the position. No, Joe goes through on the inside there. That was, I basically let him pass there, but anyway, we should be able to get the run with the DRS on the main straight, and we're trying to, but Hubert is actually, so not Hubert, Schumacher is actually on the inside there. So we're in a bit of a three-way fight here. Hubert's in as well, looking around trying to make a move on Schumacher. I'm looking forwards and backwards. It's not doing my driving skills any good, and I don't even know what's going on at this point. Schumacher's defending from Hubert there, but I think he'll hold that position as we're right behind Guan Yu Zhou once again, coming out of turn 5, but make a bit of a mistake there through turn 5 now, and we have a bit of a slide there, but we managed to hold on to the car through turns 7 and 8. Big cut through turn 7, get through turn 8 cleanly. Let's see if we can get a run on Joe through turn 9. Not quite, we missed the apex there, and Schumacher is right behind me, so I'm actually more worried about Schumacher at this point, and I've defended just slightly there, but Schumacher didn't go for the move, but I sort of delayed moving across to the right to what I normally would, but anyway.
Okay, you're catching the car ahead, but remember we need to get to the end of the race on these tyres.
We get past Guan Yu Zhou on the straight, finally, and hopefully this time we can maintain that position ahead of Joe. for the rest of this race. Meanwhile, this is Hubert battling away, and he is down the inside of Schumacher once again, looking from this nice helicopter camera, and he's battling away through the first 2 corners, and I think, looking in the top left, he has won that battle. So it's now a double podium for the Arden team as we run a little bit wide through turn 10, missing the apex there, and Joe can't do anything, but he's throwing everything at it at this point. But we move on. Joe has gotten past on the right hand side on the main straight once again, and Hubert is actually having a look as well, and I was in too deep into that corner. Hubert's through, so we've dropped 2 spots on that straight, more or less, into the first corner. So that is not going well, but Hubert is really putting the pressure on Joe. You can see how close they are up ahead, and I wouldn't be surprised if he goes for a move for the lead very soon. You can see Joe's defending there, he locks up. Hubert has nowhere to go, but he's starting to force him into mistakes. So Hubert is actually looking very good to potentially win this race if he can get through on Brand New Joe. We'll see what kind of exit he gets onto the straight, and he's going for the move on the straight to the inside of Joe, and it looks like he might just get that done into the first corner. In fact, he gets it done before the first corner. He's ahead, makes the first corner nicely as we're in a little bit deep into that corner again. We're making a habit of that recently, and we're just trying to hold off Schumacher for third at the moment. But Hubert has taken the lead of this race from Brand New Joe, and we are still maintaining P3. We're now on lap 23 of 26, so there's 3.5 laps to go. We've caught up to Joe once again, and we're going to try to make a move to the outside of turn 5, and he's left us some space. We're going to try to switch it back to the inside, and we we do that fairly successfully this time, and we go for the move to the inside of turn 7, and we should be able to make that work for us.
Nice move. Good job.
Up into P2 to make it a 1-2 for the BWT Arden team at this point in the race. Lap 23 of 26. Let's see if we can hold on to it for the rest of the race. There's only 3 laps to go after this, so I think at this point Hubert's got the race win booked in. He's been very fast, so we move on now to the final lap, and we're watching Antoine Hubert around the final corner now, and he's heading towards the finish line to win the sprint race here in Spain, not Spa, and we come across for P2.
Okay, pick up rubber and bring it home.
So it's a 1-2 for the team. That was a very good race by the both of us, I would say.
Well, what a drive that was to take the win for Arden today. Davide, what do you think made the difference here?
I think this race was won thanks to the tire management. You have to remember, it's not just about going as fast as you can. It's about consistency. It's about maintaining your speed over an entire race distance. So being able to keep the lap time competitive while still respecting the tires, that's where they won today.
Dun, dun, dun.
As they make their way down to the podium, there's no denying the strength of the Arden team. Arden aren't afraid to take risks on new talent, and it certainly looks like it paid off today. Fantastic work.
Alright, so it's a 1-2 for the team. Doesn't have quite the same effect since they have a totally different race suit, but looks cool all the same. And yeah, a little bit disappointing. We could have won that race, but a decent comeback over the course of the weekend anyway. And we beat Latifi and Sede Camera.
After this round of the World Championship, here's how things look in the drivers' table. It's a good result for Nicholas Latifi, who moves further ahead at the top of the table. Now then, Davide Valsecchi, who would you say was your driver of the day?
It's got to be Tatiana Cadorna.
Hey.
She was fast, aggressive, everything a top-class driver needs.
And now a look at the team standings. It was a tough race for our championship leaders, who lose ground at the top of the table. Meanwhile, Prema have improved their position. A strong weekend for them as they fight their way to the top. That's the end of today's race. Thank you for joining us, and I'm sure you'll agree it was a great race and sets us up nicely for the next installment in a few weeks' time. Take care. From Davide and I, it's goodbye.
So yeah, a bit of a mixed-up race there. I'm a little bit annoyed because I know I could have won that, but at the end of the day, it was a 1-2 for the team, and we've got some points back on Sede Camera and Latifi, so I can't complain too much. And yeah, anyway, if Hubert moves up to 8th in the championship from 11th it seems, so he made some really good gains in the points there. Good for the constructors to get a 1-2, and I think, I'm not sure even if we got the fastest lap in that race, but honestly I don't even care. At this point it's 1 point, and we're going to need a lot more than that to get back into the championship. But anyway, actually Hubert got the fastest lap, so the team still got those points. I assume the team gets those points. I don't know the Formula 2 rules. The team gets the point in Formula 1, so I assume they do in Formula 2 as well. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if so, I will see you in the next episode for Monaco. Ain't that gonna be fun? See you then. Goodbye.